Okay, that was the Prime Minister giving that extremely significant statement, joint press statement coming between Prime Minister Modi and the UAE President. Very significant, really, when we speak of the ties between the two countries. The Prime Minister, of course, holding crucial bilaterals with the UAE. Extremely significant because the focus was on energy, was on defense ties and a lot more. The Prime Minister also hailing the close ties between the two countries, speaking about how the ties really have now burgeoned between the two countries. The two countries are now strategic partners. Rishabh is also live with us. Rishabh, over to you. Take us through some of the biggest takeaways as far as the Prime Minister's address is concerned.
Well, we have been speaking about strategic partnership between UAE and India, but Prime Minister in the joint statement clearly stated that this is a comprehensive strategic partnership, which means that apart from security, defense, India and UAE want to come closer and move forward ahead together in various arenas, including education, healthcare, food security and fuel security has been two things that India and UAE have been partnering for quite some time, but now India would like to go ahead in the arena of defense, in the arena of security, in the arena of healthcare, as well as when it comes to education and mobility as well. Free trade agreement between India and UAE is something that was discussed upon. COP28, the climate change was discussed upon, and that also reflected in the joint statement as well. Apart from that, the Prime Minister also appreciated UAE for the whole document to be cleared in 3-month time. The FTA document, remember, the FTA document with UK has been in waiting for almost 3 years now, while with UAE the FTA was signed very quickly. So that is something that was appreciated by Prime Minister Nahyan Modi. Apart from that, when it comes to mobility, and we have been discussing this, that how Indians in UAE have been a pillar of India-UAE relationship, and the way the trade between the country has also at a balance because of the diaspora that India have. So that was among the key issues in the bilateral talks between both the leaders. And definitely the personal relationship between the two leaders is something that was on display, and that is something that everyone saw when Prime Minister reached the presidential palace in Abu Dhabi, where he was welcomed by the president himself. He walked out of the palace, and with a warm hug, Prime Minister was escorted in with the ceremonial welcome at the presidential palace, and then the joint statement after a brief bilateral talk on various issues.
Well, absolutely. And Rishabh, you've spoken about many things. Let's break them up one by one. You've spoken about the trade ties between the two countries, the economic cooperation between the two countries, something which the Prime Minister emphasized on, but also how the Prime Minister responded to the warm welcome which was given to him, thanking UAE for giving him that sort of a grand welcome. Also, in the morning, we saw visuals of the tricolors on the Burj Khalifa. Really, all of this is also a testament of the growing ties between the two countries, isn't it?
Well, definitely, the ties between India and UAE and the way it has been bettering in last 1 decade is something that is definitely noteworthy. And the way India and UAE have been partnering and have been coming together on various issues, from climate to defense to healthcare to education to mobility, the arena that has increased. Initially, Gulf countries were seen as oil producers and oil exporters to India, and that was actually the only relationship between India and Gulf. But now in last 1 decade, we have seen that how India and Gulf countries have been partnering on various aspects, including UAE, who has been one of our biggest trade partners. And not only that, but also now, the free trade agreement between India and UAE and the relationship that India and UAE leaders share has been a plus point in diplomacy. The 6-hour visit, which is an in and out visit for Prime Minister Nahyan Modi, is very significant on the climate front, on the defense front, on the strategy front, and also education and healthcare front.
Well, absolutely. And, also talking about the economic ties between the two countries, they've also grown in the past few years. In fact, when we speak of India-UAE trade, partnership, India has become one of the biggest and the largest trading partner for the UAE. And that's something which the Prime Minister also emphasized on, the economic cooperation between the two countries, isn't it, Rishabh?
Well, definitely. If you see, the trade has risen from nowhere to a point where India is actually one of the biggest trade trade partners for UAE. Indian goods are a hit in UAE, and the way UAE's relationship, economic relationship in India, if we have to say, look at that, it has gone way too ahead of where we a few years ago, a decade ago. But the way India and UAE bilateral trade has grown, there's a growth of 20% in last one decade. That is something that India is boosting about. Apart from that, it is for the first time that the bilateral trade has reached $85 billion. This is a new record for India and UAE. Remember, as we were talking, that how the trades have gone further, and the way India and UAE have been engaging in a lot of things apart from the fuel that they have been traditionally trading in. The trade has gone up to, it has surpassed the $86 billion mark. That is something which is very, very significant. And and soon, as per both the leaders, soon it will reach the $100 billion mark, and that will be very, very significant. So definitely on trade front, on economic front, India and UAE have been partnering for good.
Well, absolutely, Rishabh. Why don't you stay with us? We'll also listen in once again to what the Prime Minister really had to say. And we'll be listening to it very, very shortly. But before that, it's also very important that we talk about really not just the growing ties between the two countries, but also the future, because that was also the roadmap or the blueprint really to the same was also spelled by the Prime Minister today, isn't it?
Definitely, if you see, when it comes to UAE and the way the joint trade statement has come in, the way, UAE and India have been partnering for betterment, be it on the, defense sector, or be it in the healthcare sector or education sector, or for that matter, if we talk about overall trade between India and UAE, when we are talking about $86 billion plus trade that is happening right now, and we soon, when we say we, both India and UAE soon believe that we can cross the $100 billion mark. This showcases the positivity that is there in the relationship. We do. And as we were talking, that this time India is trying to ensure that it is not a short-term relationship or diplomatic, partnership that India should look at. Only yesterday we have signed a 25-year long forward-looking vision document, Horizon 2047, with France. It's the first time that India is signing a forward-looking, time-based goals that needs to be achieved in bilateral ties. And similarly here also we are looking, when we say that $86 billion has been surpassed, we are now looking at $100 billion. So how we are going to get this another $16 billion, $16,000 billion, $16 million thing done? That is something that will definitely be interesting to see. So definitely this is a very significant visit for the Prime Minister. But now all eyes on COP28 outcome document, whether India is successful to get the voices of global South, for the voices of developing world in that document or not, will definitely be something that all of us will look at.
All right.